August, right? So where it is. All right. So this is not one. By any chance, does anyone remember what is the name that you have given to our workflow rule? I think the last one. Yeah. All right. So what we did yesterday, so we have basically created this workflow. All right. Now what we want to do is, so we have created a field update where we are basically updating the priority to high whenever a case type is equal to electrical. All right. Now what is the pending activity as per our discussion that is left out? The pending activity is nothing but sending an email alert to certain set of people. All right. That activity is pending. All right. Now, if you have to send an email out, if you have to send an email normally from your Gmail account or from any Outlook account, what are the things that you need? What are the basic things that you need? You need to understand to whom you are sending, right? And you also need to fill out the subject of your email, and as it makes sense to fill out the body as well. All right. The things that we need to basically send an email out is your body, your subject of your email, plus to whom you are sending this email to. All right. So these are the items that we need. All right. So in order to create the subject and body, there is a email template that is given by Salesforce. We'll configure first that email template, and then we'll come back and use that email template in our workflow. I would repeat, in order to create your body of your email and the subject of your email, we are going to learn a new concept which is nothing but email templates. Where can you get your email templates? Under administrator communication and templates, you have this classic email template. I'm clicking on that. All right. So I'll just show you an existing template that I've created as a part of other class, so that we have a context of what we are going to build. All right. So this is one of the template that I've created. All right. So what we have here, we have a subject. Here. All right. We have a subject here which says electrical type case created, needed attention. All right. So if you are just sending an email without any subject which is not making sense, the end person will not be able to understand what exactly this email is about. All right. So that is why I've kept the subject which will highlight the importance of this email, which says the electrical type case created and needed attention is what I'm sending an email alert. All right. And in the subject, in the body of my email, what I'm saying is, I'm saying hi. Maybe I'll add as hi team or something of that sort, and I'll say electrical type case created with a number. Electrical type case with number. A number that is there on the case should be coming up is created, and I'm saying needed attention, thanks. And I'm also providing a link to the end user who is receiving this email. All right. I'm sending a email alert with a link. As soon as he clicks on this one, a case record will be opened in the browser. All right. So what I'm doing is, in the template that I've shown, these are all the dynamic values that I want. What are those dynamic values? I want the case number of the case which is having the type is equal to electrical, and secondly, what I want the case link. What is this case link? Case link is nothing but the URL that you have in the Salesforce. Alright. So what I want, as soon as a person receives this email, he should be able to understand which case number is having the case type is equal to electrical. That is first thing. And the second thing is, I don't want him to basically copy the case number and search it in this global file, global search. Right? I don't want them to do that. Right? So what I want them to do is, I want to basically make their life simple by providing this URL in the email that I'm sending out to them. All right. So that is what I want to build. All right. So if you see in this email, the subject is a static text. There is no kind of a change in the subject of your email. There is no change in the subject of your email. Once I write this text here, it remains same for all the cases. But if you look at the body of your email, this number will change for different cases. If I have first case, it might have the case number as 1002. The next case might be 1003. So that means this content is a changing content or a dynamic content, right? So the rest all content is a static content. What will be changing? This case number for the case will be changing because the case would be different for the case number will be different for different cases, and also the URL that will be redirected to the case will also be different. All right. So those are the two things that I want dynamically created by the system, and rest all is a static text. Rest all is a text that will not change. But these things that I'm highlighting currently, the case number and the link, are the two things that will change for the case that I'm dealing with. Alright. So this is a template that we are going to build. I've shown you what we are going to build beforehand so that you have context of what we are going to build as a part of this exercise. Alright. So this is your email template that we are going to build. Alright. Now if you ask me why we are building this one, when you are sending an email, you need a subject so that your end user understands what he's looking at, and you'll also have a body to tell him what he needs to do, right? For that reason, we are creating this email template, right? Coming back to the page, how I have landed onto this page, click on setup, search for classic email templates, that is where, click on this link, and that is where you'll be landing onto this page, alright? If you want to edit any of the existing templates, you can click on edit and you can basically make those changes. But for now, I want to create it as a new template. That is why I'm clicking on this button, which says new template. Alright. Now, as soon as I click on that new template, what I have four options here. Right? So what it says, as a part of first step, it is asking me to select the email template, new template, and it is also asking me choose the type of the email template that you want to create. It is asking me to choose an email template that you want to create. Alright, depending on your requirement, if you don't have any images or a kind of images or any text that needs to be formatted, you can always rely on your text as your email template. Alright, if you don't have any images that you want to include in your email template, you can always select the text. What if you want to basically add your company's logos on the top of your page on the email that you're sending, right? If you see any email from Flipkart, Amazon, or from Myntra, anything, they would have a kind of their own header, right? Which would say Myntra, something of that sort. They'll basically highlight that email is being sent from their company, right? And in the body, they might have some content related to the offer that is going on. They might give you some discounts as well and all, right? If you want that kind of a setup, you can always have the second option. If you don't want that kind of a setup where you want to add the headers, but you want to customize everything with the HTML, you can always use the third option, right? You can always use the third option. And what about the fourth option? Fourth option is nothing but your Visual Force page. Once we go through our Visual Force concepts, that is where we can revisit this concept. Alright. So what we are doing right now is, in our requirement, I don't have any images that I want to send, and my content is a plain text that I am sending. So that is why I am selecting the email template as text. Depending on your requirement, you will select the other types. Alright. So first step is to basically tell the system what type of email template that I'm selecting. Currently I'm selecting the email template as text, and I'm clicking on next here. Alright. Alright. Now, in the step 2, what exactly it says is, it is asking me the text email template, new template, and it is asking me to fill out those details that we have discussed, which is nothing but the subject and the email body. Before I fill out that subject and email body, it is asking me a few more things. That is nothing but where exactly I want to save this email template that I am creating. Alright. So it is like basically creating a file, and system is, when you click on save, it would ask you to where exactly I need to save this file in the folder, right? It is similar to that, right? You have 2 folders as of now. You can basically select which folder that you want to save it to. I'll leave it in the unified public classic email templates. Unfiled public classic email templates is what I'll be using as my folder. All right, and the second option that we have is, in case if you want to use this template, this checkbox needs to be checked. In case if you want to use this template as a part of your workflow rules or the other things that are coming up in our coming classes, if you want to use your template, you can always check this checkbox. In case if you don't want to use this template, you can always deactivate that, so that anyone who is about to use this template, they will not be able to find this template when they are creating an email alert. All right, it is letting the system know whether you want to expose this template to all the users or not, right? Whether they can use this template or not. All right, so that is your available for use. And next, what we have email template name. Email template name is something that you can give it to your email template, which can be helping us to identify why exactly we have created this email template. Right. So in order to save some time, what I'll do, I'll simply copy paste the email template name that I have in the previous template, and I'll change it according to our batch. All right. I'm just adding this extra August here just to make sure that we are not creating any duplicate templates. Right. Now, what is this encoding? Encoding is something that it is asking you what is that language or what is that encoding that I want to put inside this email body. I'm saying that use the general US and Western Europe, this format. All right. In case if you have any other characters like Japanese, Korean, and all, you can always use that kind of an encoding. All right. So for now, I'm just keeping this as is. All right. In case if you have any characters apart from English, you can always select that kind of a encoding. All right. Now, description, as you know, always feel free to fill out this description to let the other developers know that why exactly we have created this template. All right, for time being, I'm keeping it as blank. It is a good practice to fill that out. Now, so what we want to highlight in our subject as a part of email that we are going to send, we want to let the other user know, or the user who is receiving this email, know that there is an electrical type case that has been created in the system, and we wanted his attention. So that is why I'm writing the subject as electrical type case created, needed attention is what I'm writing here. Needed attention is what I'm writing here. Alright. That is what I'm writing in the subject. Now comes the part where we need to deal with the body. Alright. Now is the part where we need to deal with the body. So what I've done, if I have to send an email, I've mentioned the subject, and this time I have to fill out the body so that the end user can understand what exactly we are expecting from him. Alright, so what I'll say hi team, because I'm planning to send it to so many people, so I'm keeping this body as generic so that others can also understand to whom I'm referring to. Alright, I'll say hi team, and I'll copy the static text that we have from the previous template. Alright, so this is the static text. I'm copying it. I'm saying the electrical type case needed. Electrical type case with number. I'm putting it as blank so that we know that we need to fill in the actual case number, which is basically firing this workflow. Alright, if I'm basically updating this type of this case, which is 1002, from mechanical to electrical, that is where I want to send in this case number, and I also want to send in this link so that it would be easier for the person who is receiving this email to basically open this case. Alright, so that is what I'm trying to achieve. Because I don't know how to put in that case number directly here, alright, I'm putting it as a blank. Alright, so some people might think that I can directly copy this number and paste it in my email template. What would happen if I do that is, every time a different case, let's say 1003 case is basically firing the same email alert, right? What would happen? The end user will get to know that the case number is still 1002, even though there are 100 cases which are created after that. Right? If I'm basically hard coding that value, the end user will see the same case number even though I'm creating or firing that workflow rule from a different case. So that is why I'm not hard coding that value. So I'm keeping it as blank since I don't know how to populate that information, how to get that case number dynamically. Alright. So I'm keeping it as a blank and I'll copy the rest all information that I have in the previous template. Alright. Why am I doing it? It is just to save time. In case if you have a different notation or a different verbiage, you can always change that verbiage according to your business needs. You can always change that requirement or the text according to your business needs. Right? So our first line is completed. I'll go to the next line which says click here to open the case. Even this part I don't know how to populate. That is why I'm keeping it as blank. Right? So if you compare this template and this template, only change that we did was we have copied everything. But this is the place where we need to understand how to get that information dynamically. Alright? Now, how to get that information dynamically is a simple concept. Everything is being given by Salesforce. All we need to do is we need to scroll up a little where you'll find available merge fields. If you scroll up on your step 2, there is a section called available merge fields. What exactly it will do? It will basically get the information from the case or a record that is firing this workflow rule. So you can basically get that field information, in your template. Alright. So just by using your merge fields, what it will do is it will basically get the information from the record it is firing from. Alright. So now what is the information that I need to populate in my email template? It is nothing but the case information, because my triggering point or the information that I need to get and let the other users know is on case. So that is why I'm selecting the merge fields as case here. Alright. So if I have selected case fields here, in the first section which says select the field type, there is a second drop down or a pick list value which we have, which says select fields. If I click this drop down, what I'll be getting to know is I can see the fields that are there on case. What I'll get to know or what I'll be able to access, I'll be able to access the fields that are there on cases. Right? If you see there is a case number here, if you see there is a case source, and there is a case origin. All these fields are there on your screen. Case origin is there, case status is there, case number is there. Alright. So if you want to access any of the fields, all you need to do is select that object. In the select fields, you need to select that field that you want to basically display it in your email template. So as per my requirement, what I want as a dynamic field here, dynamic value here, the dynamic value is nothing but the case number that I want to populate. Alright. So I've selected the case number here. As soon as I have done that, there is a kind of a text that has been populated in this field. It says copy merge field value. Alright. And it says copy and paste this merge field value into your template below. Copy and paste this merge field value into your template below. Alright. So in case if I want to dynamically get the case number, I need to copy this information and paste it in my template where I want the case number to be populated. Right. So here is the place where I want the case number to be populated. So I have completed the requirement by replacing the blank with this kind of a content that I got from this merge fields. Right. So our first part of basically replacing the blank with the case number is done. Now what about the second scenario where I need to get this URL from that case? That is also simple. All you need to do is go to the same section, select the case fields, and this time there would be a field called detailing. What is the job of this detailing? This detail link will basically get you the case link. The job of the detail link will basically get you the case link if you are selecting the case fields here. If you are basically selecting the demo object here, you will basically get the link of that record which is connected to the demo object. Right? Depending on which record you are in, depending on what fields that you are selecting here, if you are selecting the detail link, it would get you that particular record link. That would basically this link basically helps us to get the record link. Alright. Now since I know that how to get the link of my record, I'm just replacing that blank with this text that I got from this merge fields, right? So if I see everything is done, now this dynamic content will be populated. Just because I've told you that it will be populated, we are done with this requirement. And if you ask me, will it actually work? That is where you need to save this template and we can test it immediately, right? Any changes that you are planning to do on your template, you can do it and click on save. And that is where you can test that template before you use that template. You can test that template before you can use it. How to test that template? Once you click on save, there is a section that comes up which says email template. It would basically show you the same thing that you have configured. Alright. Now, what we can do here is there is this button called send text and verify merge fields. There is this button called send text and verify merge fields. Click on that button. So there would be a kind of a pop-up screen that comes up. Right? This is how it looks like. Now, in order to test that functionality, what I need to do is I need to select the object which is triggering that. From the related to records, I'll select the case object because that is where I want to test this template that I'm using. That is where I want to test the functionality that I'm using. Right? You'll select the case from this drop down because I'm dealing with the case template. From this lookup, you'll select any one of the. You'll basically select any one of the. You'll select basically any one of the record that we have in the system, right? So what I'll do, I'll basically use the same 1002 record that we have used, right, as a part of our example. I've given a value here, right? So I've selected the case that I want to use as a dummy case to basically test my email template, right? In case if you want to send this email to your email box, in case if you want to basically send an email to your inbox, what you can do is you can check that checkbox and enter that email address here, right? You can always check this checkbox and enter the email address here, right? Currently, I don't want to do that. There is an easier way to basically check that information on the same screen itself, right? So if you want to send that email to any of your inbox and see how it is basically looking like, you can always check this checkbox and enter that email address or enter the email address that you want to use to test this functionality. For now, I don't want to use that, right? So once that configuration is done, you can click on OK. So as soon as you click on OK, your screen will refresh, and that is where you will be able to see the template with the updated information. It is just for your testing purpose, where Salesforce has basically replaced your dynamic content with the information that you have used. What is the case number that I've used? I've used 100 as my case number, and the Salesforce is basically giving me a link, right? The link that we have copied from the merge fields is been converted as a link here. All right. Now we'll quickly test if it is actually taking me to the same case number or not. So what I'll do, I'll click on that link, and here is a tab that has been opened. So we have landed on the same case that we have given as an example. All right. So this is how you can test your. This is how you can basically test your email. This is how you can test your email template, right? This is how you can test your email template. Now, I feel everything is working fine, all right? Just by doing this exercise, everything is working fine, so I can use my email template that I've created, all right? So now what has happened out of the configuration that we had, we have completed out of the requirement that we had, we have completed the activity of populating your subject and also creating your body in a dynamic way where it takes the case number on which it has been triggered, from where it has been triggered. And the second thing, it also gives you a link in that email box. So what has been completed in the process of sending an email alert to your end users, the first part of your subject is completed and your email body is completed, right? How we are able to achieve that? Using the concept called email templates, right? So our email template is ready. The next thing that we need to do is we have to go to our. The next thing that we have to do is to go to our workflow rule that we have stopped in between, right? And we'll basically use this template that we have created and complete that workflow rule so that we have everything configured, right? So I'm clicking on continue. I'm going back to the same workflow rule that we have used for our configuration, and I'm just opening it, right? I'm just opening it. Now, so this is the basic requirement that we have discussed, where we have created the workflow rule on case, and we have given the rule criteria, and we have enough discussed on this concept called evaluation criteria, alright? Now, here are the workflow rule actions that we have discussed briefly yesterday, where we have gone through the immediate workflow rule actions, and we have also created a field update. Now, I want to add this email alert as a part of this exercise. So what I'll do, I'll click on edit. I'll click on edit. It would basically take me to the previous page where we have configured our field update. Alright. So in order to add an email alert, what I have to do, I have to click on this add workflow rule action, and that is where I need to select this new email alert. New email alert. So I'll be selecting that. Now, so what I did, I wanted to send an email alert. So in order to do that, what I have to do, I have to select a new email alert as an option in the drop down of immediate workflow rule actions. So as soon as I click on that new button, what it is asking me to give me a description. It is asking me to give me a description. It is asking me to fill out the description. So what I'll say here is send email. I'll say send email to the team on team. I'll say to team, alerting them on case, on alerting them on electrical cases. What I'll say. So what I was trying to do here is I am trying to basically give all the information that I want to let the other developers know just by reading this email alert. Alright, send email to the team. Alright, to the team, alerting on the electrical case. Alright, as soon as I've completed that activity, my unique name will be auto-populated. All I need to do is click on that button. And as the name suggests, it is a unique name. It would check with the existing names to the system if there is any other. If there is any match, it would throw an error. If not, it would basically save that. Right. Now, so where to use my email template? Here, there is a lookup icon that we have, which says, which is there for this field called email template. If you want to basically use the template that we have created, all you need to do is search for that email template from your email template lookup icon. Right. So here is my template, which says electrical type case created others. So I'll be selecting that template here. Right. Now, so as a part of your template, what has been completed, you have given the subject, and you have given the body. Did we tell the system to whom we need to send that information? Did we tell the system to whom we need to basically send that email alert to? We have not told the system to whom we need to send that email. Right? So here is the place where you can decide that. Here is the place where you can tell the system that these are the people to whom I want to send this email. Right? You can basically select the users from this drop down and add them. All right. And if you want to basically alert the owner of the case, you can select the case owner. In case if you want to alert the roles, right? If you want to alert the roles, you can do that. In case if you want to basically use the email fields that are there on the case, right? There are certain email fields that are there on the case, right? Where we have that email field. Alright, we don't have this field added onto the layout, but you can always check that in the background. You will have this email fields on the case object. Currently, I have not added it on the page layout. As we know the concept of how to add a field onto the page layout, you can always do that. And that is where you can make use of that emails that you have on the screen to basically let them know also there is an issue that is being created. Right? So there are like so many options where you can play around with. You can also add your public groups that you have created. Right? So now what I'm telling the system is these are all the people that you need to highlight whenever a case type electrical is created in the system. Right? So that is people who are already in the Salesforce environment. What if you have a requirement where you need to send an email alert to somebody who is not part of your Salesforce. What if you want to send an email alert or the email that you have created to a person who is not linked with Salesforce, right? The people who have talked here, right? This user is a part of Salesforce. This case owner is also a part of Salesforce. Role is also a kind of a configuration that we have in Salesforce. Email field is also a part of our, what is it? Alright, email is also part of our Salesforce, right? Now, what if I don't want to rely on the people who want, what if I want to send an email alert to a person who is outside the Salesforce? What you can do is you can always rely on this additional email alerts, additional email fields, where you will be given an option to basically add 5 email addresses, maximum 5 email addresses, which are not part of Salesforce, right? In case if you want to send an email alert to a person who is not there in Salesforce, what you can do is you can always make use of this section which says additional email address. You can simply type in that email address and you can click on save. You can click on save, right? So what is this helping you? So how is this helping you? Anything that is not part of any user or any email address that is not part of your Salesforce, you can always add them here, right? You can always add them here, right? All you need to do is type that email address, and all the email addresses should be entered in a single line, right? They should be separated they should be entered in a single line every time, right? Maximum how many things that you can add? You can add 5 email addresses here. You can add only 5 email addresses here, right? From which email address we are sending? We are sending from the current user who is doing this activity. If I am creating the case, the email will be sent from my email address, right? The email will be sent from my address, right? So what I'm doing, I'm clicking on save. Alright, so what has happened? Earlier I have clicked on that save button, so that is where this is already been saved. So since there is a kind of a match in the unique name that is been there, so that is where system is throwing that error saying that unique name is already exists, and that is where I'm not able to save it. Right? So I'll quickly cancel this button to see if our email address is already added, email alert is already added or not. So this is the email alert that we have configured. Right? Since I have already this name that has been given, the second time when I'm clicking on back and trying to save it, that is where it is throwing an error. Right? So that is your email alert. Right? Just to show you what we have done, I've clicked on edit here. So these are all the email addresses that I've added, which are from Salesforce. In case if you want to add any person who is outside Salesforce, you can add his email address here, right? And you can click on save. Right? So now what has happened is we have basically created a field update and we have created an email alert. All right. So I'll click on done here. So we are basically done with this requirement. All right. We are basically done with the requirement that we had, where we need to update the priority field, which is being done with your field update. And the second one is nothing but sending an email alert, which is happening from your workflow. And if you ask me, what about this time-dependent workflow rule actions? If you ask me what about this time-dependent workflow rule actions, right? We have discussed this point. Anything that you are doing in your immediate actions can also be done in your time-dependent action. But the only difference between these two things is this action will be delayed, and the actions that needs to be performed will be delayed as a part of your time-dependent actions. All right? Time-dependent actions. So this is how your time-dependent actions will be looking like. All right, what it says, in case if you want to do an activity 14 days before a close date, there is a date that is there on an opportunity, right? And there's an example that I'm showing you. What exactly it says? It says that I want to basically do some activity which will be done before 14 days of a opportunity close date. So there is a field called close date on opportunity object. What this user wants to do is they want to basically do something 14 days before that close date. Right? That is one activity that you make. And the second type of configuration they have here is they want to do a kind of a activity before 7 days of your close date. what they are doing a field update and they are creating a task for the manager. Earlier they were saying that opportunity owner should follow up with the customer. They are creating a task so that your person, sales rep who is dealing with your customer will get an alert saying that he needs to follow up with your customer who is an opportunity for the organization to convert him as a customer. Alright, we are basically highlighting the sales rep person to basically follow up with your customer so that he or she will be becoming your permanent customer rather than being an opportunity. Alright, so it is like helping the sales rep, telling him that there is an activity that is pending from his side. Alright, so that is how you can make use of your time dependent actions. That is how you can basically make use of your time dependent actions. Alright, now, so that is about your time dependent actions. So that is all we need to learn in this page. So what I'll click now is I'll click on done here. So what we have done so far is we have completed the activity of creating your workflow rule. We have completed the activity of workflow rule. Alright. Now, will this workflow rule will work? The answer is no. Even though we have configured an email alert, even though we have configured the field update, it will not work because it is not yet active. It is not yet active. Just like our validation rule, if you don't check this checkbox, your workflow rule will not be executed by the system. It is like telling the system that yes, use this workflow rule while executing your flow. Alright. How to activate this one? If you see there is a button called activate here. If you click on this button once, it would basically check this checkbox. Alright, it would basically check that checkbox. In case if you want to deactivate this workflow rule, if you don't want to use this workflow rule, all you need to do is click on this button which says deactivate. Alright, so that is where you are telling the system that yes, I want to use this workflow rule. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll quickly test this function. Since we have configured our workflow rules, we'll quickly test this function. Alright, so what I will be doing is, as a part of our workflow rule configuration, what we have told the system is, we have asked the system to basically execute it on a create and every time when it is meeting the subsequently meeting the criteria. And what is that criteria? The criteria is nothing but type is equal to electrical. Right? Now, so what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a case. Alright, so I'm clicking on new, selecting a record type, and what I'll do is I'll intentionally set the priority to low. Right, and I'll create a case with type is equal to electrical. Alright, and I'll see if there are any mandatory fields. As of now, I don't see anything apart from this case origin. I'll put it as phone as a case origin. This case origin field basically talks about from where you are getting this case. In case if the case is coming from, if the issue has been reported over phone, we'll select it as phone. In case if you are getting an email from your end customer, you will select it as email. In case if they are basically logging a case from the website of this ABC company or any company, we'll select it as web. So that is how this field, case origin field, will decide from where this case is being reported. Alright, so I'll save it as phone. I'll basically select it as phone here. So what I'm doing, I'm intentionally setting the priority value to low so that to see if my workflow rule is actually working or not. So what is the condition that I have given to the system? I've asked the system on a creation, if there is any case type is equal to electrical, I want the priority value to be set to high. Alright. So what I'll do is I'll click on save and see if the priority value is set to high or not. Alright. So I've clicked on save. So type is equal to electrical, and what is the priority field that is being set by the system? The priority value is set to high. Even though I've intentionally set the priority to low, the system in the background is making sure the standard process that I've basically configured in the system is run, is basically being processed, and that is where, as a part of that standard procedure, my case, if the type is equal to the case that I'm creating, if the type is equal to electrical, that is where it is automatically updating the priority value to high. Alright. And in case if you are wondering if I got the email or not, alright, so to the email address that I've given, alright, to the list of people that I've mentioned in the list of email, the list of people that I've mentioned in the configuration of that email alert, those people will be getting an email. Those people will be getting an email alert. All right. Currently, I cannot show it as of now, but it actually came to my email address. All right. So what I'll do, I'll basically quickly see if I can share it with you people. Right. So meanwhile I'll try to see if I can share it with you people. Meanwhile, I'll open up the session for Q&A. If you have any questions related to the workflow rules that we have seen, feel free to ping me and I'll take the questions once I figure out a way to show you this email to you people. Alright, so this is how the email that has been basically that I got in my inbox. Alright, so this is the email body that I've got as a part of the exercise. This is the email that I got. Alright, so I'm not sharing that screen. The reason being I have some email addresses that I need to mask, and currently I cannot do it since I'm sharing my screen. So that is why I'm pinging you the content that I've received. Alright, to see if this link is properly working or not, what I'll be doing is I'll be copying the same link that I've pinged you. Right, I'll be copying the same link that I've pinged you, and I'll open it here. I'll open it. Alright, so this is the link that I've shared with you people, and if I click on search, if I basically paste it here, so it is taking me to the same record that I've created. Alright, so it is basically taking to the same record that I've created. Alright, so for the end user, it would be very easy experience for him, because he has a link. He or she doesn't have to search for the case number in the system to find out which case is basically having the type is equal to electrical. Alright, so we are using that link so that your end user will feel comfortable opening that case and understand what exactly the issue that he or she is facing, your end customer is facing. Alright, so that is about your workflow. Alright, now what all things that you can do as a part of your workflow? You can basically create a task. Which is nothing but a record that you can create from your workflow rule. Second thing is you can basically create an email address. Third thing is nothing but a field update. Fourth one is your outbound messages. This outbound message is something to do with the integration. For now, I'm not covering it. And how about this creation of a task? Feel free to take that as an activity to basically create a task. It is just a record. If you click on that new task in your third step, you'll be able to configure it without any difficulty. Alright, feel free to try that out as a part of the exercise. Feel free to reconfigure the same thing in your orgs, right? And try to create a task for yourself. Alright, try to click on that new task button as a part of an action, and create a task for the user every time when a case type is equal to electrical is being created. Alright, so that is your task for you. Alright, now, so those are the things that we have as a part of your workflow rule. Alright, there are a couple of things that we need to understand what your workflow rule can do and what your workflow rule cannot do. Alright, in tomorrow's class, we'll revisit that concept. What are the things that your workflow rule is good at doing things, and we'll also understand what is the we'll understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of your workflow. Right? That is our tomorrow's class. Right? For time being, I'll open up the session. To summarize today's class, what we have discussed is we have basically gone through the entire process of how to set up our workflow. Right? And I see some questions that have been asked. I'll quickly go through them. In case if you have any questions, feel free to ping them. Will the other person need to see who is the part of? So, Srivindya, in order to answer your question, which says, will the other person needs to see who is not part of Salesforce? There might be some, if you ask me real-time scenarios, there might be other systems which needs to understand, which needs to have an understanding whether a case type is equal to electrical is being created or not. This case type is equal to electrical might not make sense, but in real-time scenarios, there might be some notifications that your other systems needs to also be notified on, right? So in that cases, they'll give you an email address where it says, so this is the email address that you need to use to send an email alert to us, and that is where we'll process that information at our end, right? So that is where any user which is outside of your organization should also come into play, where these kind of activities would be there, right? That is one thing. Sir, why did not throw error when you set the priority to low, though it is retain the value as high itself? Krishna, basically when an error will be thrown to your end user, if you have gone through the concept of validation rule, that is where you are stopping the bad data from entering in the system. So did I write a validation rule or did I write a workflow rule? The answer is I've written a workflow. In case if I've written a validation rule saying that no user should enter the priority value as low if the case type is equal to electrical, that is where it might have thrown an error to the end user. But the thought process here is to, even though the user who is basically creating a case, even though intentionally or unintentionally if he has missed out updating the priority value to high, I have configured a setting in a system, I've configured a concept or I've configured a workflow rule in the system so that it can take care of that particular activity. It can take care of that particular activity depending on the standard process that is being laid out by that business, right? We choose priority as low, but it shows as high. So the reason being why it is showing as high is because there is a field update that I've written in a workflow rule which is updating the priority value to high if my case type is equal to electrical. Right? This is the configuration that we have done in our today's class. All right. That is one question being answered. All right. So this is done. How can we do domain restriction? So, Anjanela, I'm not sure if you are asking me about anything related to Salesforce. If you are referring to how can I give you a, let's say, how can I restrict the other people from entering into my org? Simple reason, you can only enter into this org until unless you are a user to this org. Even though if I've shared you a URL, you will not be able to access the Salesforce my org. The reason being, you are not part of this org setting, right? You are not part of this, not a part of this environment or this organization where I've not created a user for, right? As soon as you click on that link, it would ask you for a username and a password, right? The reason why it has actually opened a case record for me because I've already logged into the system, and that is where it has taken that URL as a redirection to a new page. Right? If I've logged out and if I'm trying to click on that link, it would ask me for a username and password that I need to enter. Right? I hope I have answered your question. In case if you think that there is something that you need and I've not covered, I'll try to elaborate on that. So no, I'm asking that I don't want some domains like Gmail. All right. So while creating your users, there would be an email address that you give, right? If you basically don't want any Gmail account that needs to be created, you can always go to that users and see what is that email that they're created. As an admin, you will have the capability of understanding what is the email address that they're using, and you can basically check those email address and ask the end user to basically use the company email address rather than using that Gmail address. Right? That is one thing. And That is one thing. What was the other question? And if you ask me, will I be able to add the Gmail address in that additional email address section? Yes, you can. Being an admin, since you are the person who is adding that Gmail address in that section which says additional email address for 5 people can be added there. So you are responsible that you are adding a Gmail address intentionally. Alright. So that is what I can say as of now. Alright. So I've pretty much covered all the questions that came in. In case if I've missed out anything, feel free to ping me and I'll take that question. And to answer Anjaneya's questions in detail, what we have is we have also a validation rule that we can write down your user. Right? It is not always a kind of a good practice to ask your end user or a person who is a system admin to basically go through all the users and see what is the email address that they are setting. Alright. So as a part of our configuration, you can always write a validation rule on your user where you can stop anything related to Gmail as a part of your user base. Right. And second thing, that is one thing, right? The second thing is, as an admin, you have the capability to create a record in Salesforce. As an admin, you have the capability of creating a user in a Salesforce instance. Right? Since you and I, as an admins, we should decide or we should rely on the policies that have been laid out by our companies to understand which email that we need to use. In case the user is not providing a right email address, you can always reach out to him and ask for the right email address or the right company's email address that they need to use. Right? So these are the things that you can keep in mind while configuring that. If it is not a user object, you can always write a validation rule to stop that end user from entering anything, any email address which is not of your company's company one. So in this scenario which we did, type is equal to electrical, priority is high. So here we ran the workflow rule only for electrical, right? So we want to change the type, then we need to run for this as well. Srivenja, to be honest, I have not actually understood what was the question. If you are referring to the triggering point, yes, the triggering point is on your type field. When I change it to electrical, that is where the workflow rule will fire. If you are referring to the third option, yes, if I keep on editing this record, keeping the type is equal to electrical, my email alert will not be sent to my list of people that I have configured. The reason being, it is running on the third scenario, third rule criteria, which is nothing but it would only execute if I'm moving from non-meeting criteria to a meeting criteria. Right. If I change the type from electrical to electronic, and then I switch back that electronic to electrical, that is where again I'll see a second email to my email account or to my account. Right. So if you are referring to that option that we have discussed yesterday, that is the reasoning around it. In case if your question has not been answered, feel free to rephrase that and I can take it. Alright, so before I leave you people, I have a question to everyone. Right? Now what we have done, we have basically configured this workflow rule for only one condition, which is type is equal to electrical. But now what I want is, I want to basically set the priority field. Depending on my type of my case. Right? So on the case field, on the case object, we have this type field which has electrical, mechanical, electronic, structure and others as an options. Right? And on the priority field, what I have, high, medium and low. Right? Now I'll just extend this discussion that we had to the next level, which is basically depending on my type of the case, I want to set my priority field. Depending on the type of my case, I want to set the priority of the case. How I want to do that? If my case type is equal to electrical or electronic, I would repeat, if my case type is equal to electrical or electronic, I want to set the priority value to high. I'm just extending the discussion that we had, right? So the requirement now is, if my case type is equal to electrical or electronic, I want to set my priority to high. And the second scenario is, if my case type is equal to mechanical or structural, I want to put the priority to medium. I want to set the priority to medium. Medium is a pick list value that I have in this priority. Right? Medium is a pick list value that I have in this priority field. Third scenario is, if the case type is equal to others, that is where I want to put my priority to low. Right? Three conditions that I'm giving. Earlier we had only one condition where it says, if my case type is equal to electrical, I'm just simply putting the priority value to high. Right? But this time what I'm saying, I am basically giving you some more extra conditions to process. Right? As a part of our standard procedures, I want to implement as a part of my business scenario. What is that scenario? If my case type is equal to electrical or electronic, I want to put the priority value to high. If the case type is something to do with mechanical or structural, that is where I want to put it as medium. And what is the last option? If my case type is equal to others, that is where I want to put it as low. Alright. So this is an exercise for you. Feel free to go through that workflow rule once and understand how many workflow rules that I need to use and how can I get this requirement done. Right. The idea here is to understand how many workflow rules do I need to use to get that requirement done. Alright. And the second thing is, how can I get that done. Right. So the answer to this question is with your workflow rules. Right? The answer to, in order to get this requirement done, you can do that requirement using your workflow rules. But how to do that is what you need to explore and help me understand in our tomorrow's class. Right? You can feel free to share your thoughts in the first of our class, and once we discuss the advantages and disadvantages of our workflow rules, then we'll take this concept and we'll see how to implement that. Right? So that is the point that I wanted to discuss. That is the last point that I wanted to discuss in our today's class, right? So to summarize, we have basically gone through the entire process of setting up our workflow rules, and I've given you a scenario where you need to go back home and try to implement the workflow rule with the conditions that I've given. Right? In tomorrow's class, we'll basically go through this concept or the conditions that we have discussed, and we'll see how to implement that. Right? Having said that, I have completed all the points that I wanted to cover as a part of our today's class. I'll open up the session for Q&A. So I've gone through all the questions that came in, and I've given you the inputs as well. In case if you think that there is something that I've missed out, feel free to ping me. And if you don't have anything, we can call it a day for today. Right? And people who are still having questions, I'll wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. In case if you have any questions, feel free to ping me. I'll take it forward. And in case if we don't have anything coming up in the chat window, we'll close the day for today. Alright, people who are asking me how many workflow rules that I need to use, that is a question for you. Feel free to try that today and help me out with that answer in tomorrow's class. Alright. Apart from that question, I don't see anything coming in. So we can call it a day for today. Thanks for joining, and we can connect tomorrow.